Welcome back to my studio. Today we're going to look at two new kits from Canada for C-41 and ECN-2. So there's a store slash lab, I believe, in Alberta, Canada called Flic Film, and they have a new C-41 powdered kit and an ECN-2 powdered kit that they are mixing up and marketing. So they sent a sample of it down to me, as well as some of their re-rolled Kodak film for me to try out. So they sent a few other things, and we're going to be trying those out over the next few weeks, and I'm really interested to see it. Some black and white stuff. So we're going to see if these kits are any good. We're going to look at the C-41 and compare it to my actual Flexicolor from Kodak C-41, and we're going to look at the ECN-2. I've never shot any of Kodak's movie color stock, and I've never processed ECN-2. This is new for me. So we're going to try it out. We're going to see how it works out. Before we do that, though, I want to thank all of you that support this channel, either through my Patreon or through merchandise. I do appreciate that. If you would like to help support this channel, you can go down to the links below and either get shirts such as these that I design. You can get some of my walnut composition frames to help you frame that photograph and how you want to set everything up, as well as just Patreon support. And then YouTube added some kind of super chat something down there if you just want to help keep this channel going and you just want to give a little thanks. It's appreciated. Also, and this is not sent to me, I bought this. A company called Retrospect has these new film cans, and they're really cool. I just bought one because I thought it was really awesome, and it's very vintage looking, like the Kodak metal canisters that they used to have for individual rolls. They have two sizes. This is the big one. There's a small one. This holds 10 rolls of 35mm or 4 rolls of 120. The small one I think is just half that, 5 rolls of 35mm, and they're pretty awesome, pretty heavy gauge. I really like it. If you're looking for something retro cool like that, I would recommend it. I think I paid $35 or something like that for it. So it's a great way to keep your film dry and stored. So let's take a look at these kits though. So I've got a C-41 and an ECN-2. They are pretty easy to mix up. They are powder and liquid mix depending on the part. So C-41 was a developer, 2-part powder developer. It was a liquid stop, powdered bleach, liquid fix, and a powdered stabilizer. You use distilled water to mix everything up just to keep everything consistent. It has a stated capacity of 8 rolls of 35mm or 120, and then the equivalent in sheet film. I did not test for capacity, so I can't make any statements as to whether or not you get 8 rolls out of it. The kit makes half a liter. I can say it is different in terms of what you get than Kodak Flexicolor C-41. It is not a color bleach. It's a standard potassium ferrocyanide bleach, like what you would get with a sepia toner or Farmer's Reducer, something like that. The ECN-2 kit came with a remjet removal wash, a powdered developer, a liquid stop powdered bleach, the same potassium ferrocyanide bleach, liquid fixer, and hexamine powdered stabilizer. So pretty much the same kit as C-41. A little bit different developer. It was a single mix instead of a 2-part mix for developer. And then the pre-bath to get rid of the remjet layer on the film, because they have, what do they have? They offer Vision 3 500T re-rolled, 50D re-rolled. So I shot some of the 500T. You can see I cut off what I used so we can play with this around a little bit later. on another video. So 500T, 50D, and then XX, black and white. So if you're in Canada and the prices seem better or shipping seems better than getting from Cinestill or something like that, I would highly recommend it. For those of you that haven't shot those color films before, the 500T, T is for tungsten, I shot outside, so I used an 85C filter over the lens of my camera. The 50D is a daylight balanced. I won't need to do that when I shoot some of that in another video. That's all I can think of there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pictures and see what we have. We're just gonna look at 6 really quick here and then sum everything up. So let's take a look. All right, so this first one, these first 2 are going to be the C-41 kit from Kodak. So this is standard manufacturer branded C-41 Flexicolor. And you know, color's good, density's good, everything that I would expect. The film is Portra 160. I shot 1 roll of film and I just cut it in half, developed half in this Flexicolor, half in this kit. And the color's good, density's good. The image may not be super exciting, but the quality is there. All right, we're gonna go to the next one. And again, we have decent shadow density, we have good color, we have good contrast, everything that we would expect from Portra, and a C-41, so basic. I will say both kits were developed at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The Flic film kit does recommend developing at full temperature, unlike Arista or Tetnol or Raleigh that have all these different time and temperature variations. This is recommended at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, same as Flexicolor. So let's look at the Flic film C-41. And you can see from the shot here, again, we're getting decent color, we're getting decent exposure, contrast, and everything like that. Now, these are processed because they were not printed. I did not try printing these in the darkroom, which is my preferred method for color negative. Instead, we process this digitally. So if there are issues with curves and color crossover, we're not going to really see it here because the computer, of course, can correct for that. I didn't feel like I needed to do that. I did need to correct a little bit for color balance, but that could just be because I'm looking at a lot of shadow area, and I used aperture priority on the camera, so exposure may have not been perfect since I let the camera do the work, but it's a Minolta A9, it's a pretty good camera and a good lens. So now if we go to the last one, again, color, density, everything looks pretty good. I did find that I had powdered residue from the hexamine stabilizer. I don't feel stabilizer is necessary anymore. And I say I don't feel. Stabilizer isn't necessary anymore. So there's final rinse and there's stabilizer. So let's talk about this for a second. Final rinse replaced stabilizer. You can't buy Kodak stabilizer anymore. They only have final rinse. And the active ingredient for the C-41 final rinse is the same active ingredient in the PhotoFlow 600. Not the 200, but the 600. And that just requires 1 part concentration to 600 parts water instead of 1 part to 200 for the PhotoFlow 200. So basically you're just putting PhotoFlow on your C-41 now instead of a stabilizer. Stabilizer had formalin and a bunch of other things. These kits have a hexamine that's dissolved, and it's not important anymore, at least for the still films. I don't know anything about the movie films and if they had this or not, but Kodak reformulated, it was either 2003 or 2013. I want to say it was 2003. they put the stabilizer in the emulsion. So you don't need to stabilize the dyes anymore. It's already there. You just need to rinse the film and get the water off. And that's where the photo flow or final rinse comes in. The stabilizer here doesn't have a wetting agent. So I found I had some drying marks. I had some undissolved hexamine on the film, whereas the C-41 Flexicolor that I used my photo flow final rinse, and no grain or grit from the hexamine powder residue, and no drying marks. So while I did have to clean the film using the Flic film afterwards with some PEC 12 and all that, I didn't have to do that with the Flexicolor kit because I had the wetting agent. So for anyone who doesn't know whether or not you need to use a stabilizer or a final rinse is just a wetting agent like photo flow, and the stabilizer is built into the film. So you don't need a stabilizer unless you're using expired film made before 2003. Then you will need a stabilizer because it's not already in the emulsion. Okay, so that's how the things work. If you don't like the stabilizer in here, you can skip it and just use diluted photo flow, which is what I used. So the ECN-2 kit also has the hexamine stabilizer. I skipped it and I used photo flow. However, like I said, I don't know if the movie stock has the stabilizer built in like the camera stock. So that I'll have to look into. Okay, so photographs, not super exciting, but I did get good color, good density, good contrast. I feel like it's a good kit. So check the prices and see if the half-liter kit for 8 rolls, if you're in Canada, is a better price for you. So I would recommend it if you find that it is. All right, the ECN-2 kit and the 500T. So I've got 2 photographs here that I'll show you. First one here, it's just my kid. Asked him to stand out in the street. We watched some traffic, make sure he wasn't in any danger, and he didn't like the sun in his eyes. So you'll see that he turned away from me. But I kind of like the photographs. So having never shot this film before, I knew daylight it was going to be very, very blue in color, being a tungsten film. So with the 85C, I found even in the software I needed to change the color balance a little bit. It was still a little bit too cool. Not surprising. So if I were to print this, I'd probably find the same thing. But it's good. It's definitely a little grainy, being a 500 speed film, but it's a good film. I like the look. Nice sharpness, a little grainy, but overall good color balance. And the remjet came off really, really well. I've never dealt with that stuff before. I did need to kind of wipe the film off after my wash and before my photo flow final rinse. All right, and then this last photo is just me in the studio, just trying out a 3-foot octagon light box, or a light box, a soft box on my strobe. And again, it came out a little cool, so I used a little bit of warming in Lightroom after scanning this in. But again, it's pretty good. Grain isn't bad. It's a very particular look, and we're going to see how that compares at some point with the 50D. I'm hoping that's a very smooth film. I think both of these kits very good. I'm going to be testing the capacity of this a little bit more because I've got 1.5 rolls of film to use, so I kept this. I did not keep this C-41 kit to try extended capacity because I've got all my Flexicolor stuff. I'm pretty heavily invested in it, and I won't be changing any time soon because I buy it in bigger quantities. But overall, yeah, definitely look into it. Again, if you're in Canada, I know shipping and customs for both of these products and the film products can be pretty steep coming from the US and having to cross the border. So look at them. It's Flic Film. They're in Alberta. They're very nice people. They have some other products we're going to be looking at. They have an ascorbic acid based black and white developer. I think, to kind of compete with Xtol. They sent me a paper developer, and they sent me, I believe, a D96 movie developer for the XX. So we'll try that out in the future as well. So that's it for this week. Again, I highly recommend them. Check them out. Appreciate you all watching. If you can, please help support this channel so we can continue to get stuff like this and see how stuff works and if it works well. So we'll see you next time, and y'all have a great week.